Hi everyone, welcome to Technical RPA. This video we are going to discuss about Blue Prism interview questions to the continuous. So what is used to measure process performance and for generating management information? Usually object data is used to measure process performance and generating management information reporting system. What are outputs in Blue Prism? Blue Prism provides the release manager which allows users to create checklists known as outputs. Usually the output is BP release, dot BP release in the release manager. What are credentials in Blue Prism? Actually, the Blue Prism credential feature to control access to a file, which is user and password details. A get next item action should almost invariable by followed by which stage? That would be the wait stage. This action always invariable by wait stage. To ensure any sensitive data held within the queue is managed, what we can do? Do not add sensitive data to the queue. If you want to add any sensitive data, that would be probably the session or environment variables you can add it. Why do we use parenthesis in expression in Blue Prism? Parenthesis must use to include data item in an expression. This option only used to include in data item. An exclusive process must run on its own and cannot run at the same time as any other process in Blue Prism. Yes, it is true. An exclusive process. See, in Blue Prism, we have three things: forward, backward, and exclusive. It runs its own and cannot run at the same time as any other process. What is parent value in Blue Prism? Actually, usually in Blue Prism, sorry for that, background, foreground, and exclusive. We have three types of process. So here the exclusive process must run on its own and cannot run at the same time as any other process which is running in Blue Prism. That is true in exclusive. What is parent value in Blue Prism? Although the parent value is fairly common attribute, it can make all the difference. So we can see what is parent value in future questions. See, when we talk about 70, exception function like exception detail and exception type cannot be used in recovery mode. Yes, that is right. We cannot use it in recovery mode. The next one is once an object has been launched an application, any attempt relaunch will cause an exception. Yes, any relaunch will cause an exception. It will become under the exception handling. What is wildcard match type in Blue Prism? Wildcard match type to use the value of an attribute from the diagram rather than one in application modeler. So usually the wildcard will become under, see if it is like, always wildcard will tell it is like, if I tell Google inside the wildcard characters, the probably Google may be IE, Google may be Chrome, whatever it is. So I'm simply giving Google. So this is the wildcard operator attribute within the modeler. What are global mouse click and global send key events in Blue Prism? Global mouse click and global send key are examples of operations that need to active an application. See, usually once you activate the application, you can do with activate in your navigate stage. Once activation has been completed, suppose you want to send the control arrow, control up or control down, whatever you want to send, you have to give the your details into the curly brackets. Then probably global send key events will be sent. It is the operation after the activation or focus on the application. The standard BP performance report requires that all exception items are tagged as either system. Which tag filter returns the next item with the type on tag and without a source on tag. Actually, when you talk about tag filters, the type on tab returns the next item. Here you can see inside the work you are using next item. Here you can see item ID and type whatever it is. Here the answer is type on. Loop again is loop count greater than max loops count is loop count plus 1. Once ran, loop count value is what? So if I check the max loop value is 7, probably the loop count value is 7 because counter has been increased based on the max loops. Which stage allows us to check if an application is connected in this manner? Navigate stage allows us to check application is connected to the proper manner. The launch action shown is not accessible to a newly curated process P1. What is the problem? Action launch has error. Yes, if it is launch has error, then probably launch action shown is not accessible. What is the outcome of running? Sorry, this will be not in diagram. Probably I will add it diagram later. If the calls one stage thrown an error, what happened? Here also we need diagram. I will add diagram for those cases. See, explain about tag in Blue Prism. A tag is a keyword of term assigned to a work queue item as a method of categorizing or grouping that item. Usually, tag is used for grouping or categorizing the items. Here you can see what are the categorization we can use. Used when getting items using get next item from the work queue. You can filter the items to retrieve by the persons or options as a specific tab by giving the appropriate arguments to the tag filter input parameter of the get next item action. You can also use a combination of tags in the tag filter parameter separate by semicolons. For example, by setting the tag filter plus work type 1 plus customer type 2 work source 1. The next item in the work type 1 and customer type 2 and tags and without a work source 1 tag will be returned. So you can use all the filters you can use in tag. Suppose you want 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 3 or else you can 1 plus 1 equal to 2. Whatever the way you can filter the values, filter the Work type, filter the customer. You can utilize tag filters. Tag filters mainly used for filtering the parameters based on your input type. Explain the status in Blue Prism. Each work queue item has a status. In work queue item, that is called as status. The status can be used as a method of recording what work has been done so far on a work queue item. Select the update status action. How can you set the priority for your work queue in Blue Prism? Setting the priority for your work queue item is done when the item is first added to the queue using the add to queue action. The priority of an item cannot be changed after it has been added to the queue. Once you are added to the priority of the work queue item with the add to queue, it cannot be changed. What is priority input parameter? Populate the priority input parameter of the add to queue action. Items are worked in order of lowest priority number first. So lowest priority number is first. So an item with priority set to 1 will be worked before an item with priority set to 2. If the priority input parameter is not set, the default value is 0 is used. Suppose you are not set any priorities, the probably 0 will set. If you are setting the priority, it automatically will take you. Suppose you are setting the priority as 5, it will start with 5 to the next item. What is a conclusion in Blue Prism? If a process is successfully completed to a conclusion, no more working it's required on this case. The work queue item should be tagged as completed with a brief completion type. This conclusion will come under the work queue because tags show up on Blue Prism performance report. Tagging completed statuses provided an easy way to keep track of how many cases completed with each completed reason. Usually, this conclusion will come under the managed reporting of the completed reports. What is Blue Prism process template? It is strongly recommended that the Blue Prism process template are used as a basis for all process created in Blue Prism. So usually Blue Prism has separate process templates which is for PDD, Blue Prism PDD, Blue Prism TDD, Blue Prism STD and Blue Prism PID process integration document. So many templates are available. These templates are common for all the Blue Prism process. It ensures processes are easily to configure and support. And Blue Prism has some templates are available, which some of the templates have, for example, deployment template and network compilation template and network management template and database connectivity template. These type of templates are available in Blue Prism site. What are multiple part process? Multiple part process where a case needs to be worked in multiple parts in different times. Parent and child relationship is one of the multiple part process where individual work queue items must be linked to a single request. The second thing is workflow system. The work is driven as a external system rather than queue. And the third one is the real-time work request. It would be requested added throughout the day and must be worked in short service level agreement period. These are the three multiple part processes in Blue Prism. So what is active queue configuration in Blue Prism? Instead of creating sessions separately in control room and then moving to the queue management page to see the results, active queues allow you to set a target number of resources which should be working the queue. Blue Prism uses the active queue configuration to determine how to achieve the target. Active work queues are only useful when running dozens of sessions for one process. When this is not the case, the benefits of active work queue will not be realized. Suppose you can think I have 20 or 30 running sessions in one of my process. In that case, active work queues will be accountable in work queue tags and filters and queue management. If it is not, if it is very lesser sessions are working in my process, probably no need to go with active queue configuration. Usually the purpose of active queue is it will be set a target number of resources which should be working in the queue as a session. So what are work queues in Blue Prism? Multiple machines can work from the same queue at the same time, each retrieving different cases to work. Yes, that is exactly right in the work queue definition. What is control room in Blue Prism? Control room, an unworked or bending item will be marked with the three blue dots. Locked items are marked with padlock. Completed items are marked with the green check mark. Exception items are marked with the purple flag. What is work queue internal in Blue Prism? The special work queue internal business object is used to interact with the work queue. When an item is being worked, it is locked so no one else can work it. When an item is marked as complete or exception, the lock is released and item is referred by its unique Blue Prism ID. Each item has its own collection to hold data. You can see here the internal work queues. To the next get next item action. What is got item in Blue Prism? A get next item action should almost invariably be followed by some sort of got item decision. An expression checking if the ID is blank is the way to test if you haven't got an item. So how it will work? Suppose you are checking a decision box. If decision based on failure and pass, the get next item will work on it. Suppose the item ID is not equal to null, then probably that is one of the result will come. If item ID equal to null, then probably the decision will make to the get next item value. Here you can see based on the item ID, the decision will move on it based on the got item. What is the use of encrypted option in Blue Prism? The encrypted option is available to ensure any sensitive data held within the queue. Usually the encrypted option is available within the queue is encrypted in Blue Prism database. Suppose some filters, some sensitive customer information, it will be managed through Blue Prism database through the encrypted option. So what is the use of deferred? Actually, when talking about deferred, items can be deferred to prevent them from being worked too soon. Suppose here you can see defer list daytime. Here they are giving us now plus make time 5 days. Suppose I want to stop particular area, particular filter value or particular queue into the 5 days to stop the work or else 5 minutes or else to 5 seconds. So it will prevent to working that particular queue. If a deferred date is specified when items are created, the queue will hold onto onto them until the date. Effectively, the items are temporarily frozen. Yes, the items are the particular item or particular area of the queue. It will be frozen for the deferral dates. Deferred, it's always frozen. What are unworked items in Blue Prism? Actually, in Blue Prism queues, if get next item fails to item, it does not necessarily mean there are no unworked item in the queue. It could be there are deferred items in the queue is yet to release. See, if you talk about unworked items, it's all about content in the get next item. Suppose if get next item is failed, probably the next will come under the process is unworked items. What is max atoms field on the work queue configuration in Blue Prism? Items can be worked more than once if necessary. If max atoms field on the work queue configuration section of System Manager is set to 1 by default, by this can be set to a higher value if necessary. When max atom is greater than 1, the work queue will revive any exception cases by cloning a new item and inserting into the queue. Here you can see item key. Based on the item key, suppose I'm setting the max attempt as 1, it probably it will revive. If I set the max attempt as greater than 1, it will be revive any exception cases and clone a new item and insert into the queue. Maybe that queue move into exception or else manual or else completed whatever it happened. But if I probably it will change my max items as greater than 1, it will be revive and clone a new item. What is retry input parameter in Blue Prism? You can see retry. So suppose you have work queues and you have action as mark exception. So in that case, the retry will come under picture. If you have exception, so do you want to retry? If you give the retry false, true, based on the value, the queue will be work on it. The retry input parameter of the mark exception in the internal work queue business object then can be used to override max attempts. When retry is true, the queue will generate another attempt if the limit of max attempt has not been reached. But when the retry is false, it will override max attempts and prevent any further attempts regardless of the number of retries available. So this retry is completely depend on the max attempts. If you have false, probably it override max attempts and prevent any further attempts regardless the number of retries available. See, probably when you have data item as max retry, max attempts, it will work based on the max attempts. If you give the retry is true. What is keep locked input parameter in Blue Prism? Here you can see um, business object internal work queue mark exception keep locked. Keep locked here the flag is false. The fourth one. The keep locked input parameter works in conjunction with the retry input. When keep locked is true, the new cloned item will become instantly locked. This provides the opportunity to carry on working on the new item. When keep locked false, any new item is created freely available as the next item. Here you can see keep locked is false, then probably any new item created is freely available as the next item. Usually when we do keep locked as true, then probably it will be not available to the next item. What is attempts only applied to exception? Attempts only applied to exception item marked as complete and cannot be reworked. This is attempts only apply. What is the use of resume function in Blue Prism? A work queue can be temporarily passed through so that it will not release items at all. The resume function reactivates a past queue. From the perspective of a process, a past queue will appear divide up available item. This feature can be useful way of making a process think it has no work to do. Usually the resume function in work queue will work as reactivate as a past queue. What is queue content list in Blue Prism? The queue content list can be filtered to display a subset of the queue. Drop-down list above each column are used to apply filter, and a filtered view can be saved and reapplied as required. The queue content list can be exported as a basic report. You can export and send as a basic report for the queue contents. What is work queue in Blue Prism? A work queue in an internal configurable list that enables a process to manage its workload. A process can use different work queue, and a work queue can be shared by multiple processes if required. Here you can see the work queue feature provides this functionality to store, manage and share report on process work. Here you can see work queue have resources, scheduler. Based on that, the work queue function will work on it. What is internal work queue business object in Blue Prism? Here you can see internal work queue. After each calculation, add an action using the set data item for the internal work queue's business object to commit the change back to the queue. Always internal will commit the changes back to the queue. Why do you provide empty fields in Blue Prism? Providing empty fields when the item is created could provide storage for data collected while the item is being worked. If it is worked, then probably it have to providing empty fields. What are tag searches in Blue Prism? Tags is a support to wildcards. An asterisk wildcard can be used to search for any other characters, and a question mark character can be used to search for any single character. Here the asterisk and question mark. If you have asterisk, it used to search for any other characters, and question mark only for single character in the tag filters. What is the importance of work item in Blue Prism? It is important to ensure work items a given lower priority are eventually worked. If your process is configured to prioritize work in an order other than the default first in first out, there is a risk that lower priority work might never be worked. To circumvent that risk, your option include ensure these are the always enough robots working the process to clear all the work each day. Design a solution that uses more than one method of prioritizing, adding logic in your design that works lower priority items if they are over a configured edge. If service level agreement monitoring and alerting to your solution to ensure blueprints and controllers are informed if work items are at risk of missing their service level agreements. The controller can take the appropriate action if required. The work item and work queue items very important process to keep on keeping our values into service level agreement of the business. What is the use of process template in Blue Prism? By using process template, where the work queue is loaded with the new work and work and where the next get next item action is used to standardize across all process. All complete cases are routed through a resolve item page. All exception items are routed through a resolve exception page. This is easier to develop and support than having multiple mark exception and mark completed stages throughout the process. Process development is quicker because the examples are provided of different work queue loading scenarios. It is easier to familiarize yourself with the already created process since they follow similar templates. What is the use of differing as a method for a multi-part process in Blue Prism? Process where the separation period process where not item needed to be deferred. These are the two levels of multi-part process in differing item. What is the use of multiple queues? Process where the separation period in work in longer. And second thing is process where every item needed to be processed in multiple parts. How can you maintain parent and child relationship? Tagging in the work queue. Tagging related child items with a key item tag that only are tagged with. The use of an additional parent work queue providing a single view of the related work. The next one is very important. How exception bubbling will work in Blue Prism. Here you can see the diagram. The exception handling in block 3 enables multiple attempts to launch the application and a count is kept to limit the number of attempts. One the maximum number of attempts, here you can see maximum number of attempts reach, the exception is not handled and allowed to bubble up to the parent page. And because the main page will not handle any exceptions coming from the startup page, the process will terminate. Here you can see exception black 4 is more basic. Only one attempt to log in is impossible. If an exception occurs, the exception is simply allowed to bubble up and kill the process. This is the way we can bubbling exceptions. See here you can see the entire diagram. Block 3 and block 4. How the exception has been bubbling through the recover and resume stage with the block stage. Usually these exception bubblings are happening through if exceptions are not handled to the proper way, then it will allow to bubble up to the parent page. Thanks guys, thanks for watching this. We can touch with our next video.